Hi there, welcome back to my channel and our simple abundance year. It's been unseasonably warm today, so I thought I would come to you from outside. I hope that your October is off to a great start. We're here on this channel following through Sarah Ban Beathnach's book, Simple Abundance, reading all about her principles this year and her daily entries. Honestly, I've been running around, so I haven't read in depth the entries that I'm going to talk about today. I kind of have a general idea on the topics, but I'm going to be exploring them at the same time as I'm taping. So I wanted to share with you guys something really special too. So yesterday's entry, October 5th, was called The Glad Game Reconsidered. I didn't remember this entry. In fact, I looked back in the old book and I don't see it either. So it might have been somewhere else in the book, but it explains something that I'll go into in a second. So the Glad Game is from the story of Pollyanna. You guys remember that book and the movie? So we kind of know, even now, people will say like, oh, you're such a Pollyanna. You know, you have this like positive spin on everything. So she had something called the Glad Game. And so it was like, what did she say? Cheer up, it's not so bad, right? So it was like trying to turn over a bummer situation into a happier one. And what tickled me was that, I've never told you guys this, but when we finished our Simple Abundance year in 2018, my Simple Abundance ladies and I, that I've mentioned in other videos, we reached out to Sarah. And we wrote her notes and we sent her pictures of all the things that we had done that year. And I was reminded of, we finally got a response from her. It was actually almost a year later, but we got a response from her, and she mentions this entry in a way that, like, it didn't make sense until, I'm sorry, there's a lot of noises in the sky here. It didn't make sense until I just revisited that Glad Girl thing. So I'm just going to read, actually I'll read you the whole thing. It was really, we were really excited to get it. In fact, we were featured on her Instagram page back when this happened. So she says, please forgive the length of time it is taken for you to receive my message of love and gratitude. In between moving and moving again, changes of address, and work on what has been a secret project for the last year, I've been off the radar. And her secret project was that she was rewriting Simple Abundance, and we didn't even know it at the time. Let's see. But your castaway has finally found her fabulous package with the collage picture and your wonderful notes, and I can't stop smiling when I think of you. Let's see. Writing is a very isolating art and craft, and the sight of your happiness, which I might have inspired, filled me with so much gratitude and affection. Those beams of joy in your faces touch me more than words can say. I know you refer to yourselves as the Simple Abundance ladies, but I call you my Glad Girls, after the original fans of Pollyanna in 1913. So I didn't really remember what that meant, and in fact, I didn't even remember her mentioning Pollyanna in this letter. So it all just came back to me when I was reading the entry. It's hard to believe Simple Abundance was first published just 25 years ago. And so the secret project was a completely new and revised Simple Abundance for living in the frazzled, quote, breaking news cycle and 24/7 social media circus. The publishing date is November 19th, and there will be a new gratitude journal to match coming in December, as well as a 30-hour audiobook. I'm starting a new feature on Instagram called I Am Simple Abundance, and so that's what we were featured on. I send my love and blessings and deepest gratitude to you. May peace and plenty always be your portions. So those were some words from Sarah. And I've also been meaning to share with you guys, and I'll put the link at in the notes of this video. There's a really great interview that another YouTube did with Sarah. It was earlier in the year, and somehow it didn't come up as something to watch until just recently. So I checked it out, and she's not in, you can't see her, but you can hear her. You can see the person interviewing her, but it's a great video, and it looks like a fairly new YouTuber too, so I don't know how she got Sarah on, but maybe that's something to think about for the end of the year. I don't even know if she's aware of my channel or not, but so that was about the Glad Girls, the Glad Game, Pollyanna. I didn't go into huge detail on it, but you can check it out on the October 5th entry. And I haven't seen that movie in years, so maybe I should watch it again. Today's entry is called Attention Must Be Paid. And I'll just read some of what she says. One morning, your predictable, conscious self surprises you. The alarm rings. She shuts it off and rolls over, doesn't get out of bed. Shows no intentions of getting dressed. She's on strike. Grievances have been ignored for years, maybe a lifetime. Working conditions are intolerable. This is a perfect segue from the burnout entry we had, right? Just on the last video. Maybe you haven't burned or bummed out, run away, landed in the hospital, or had a complete nervous breakdown yet. Maybe your family is still intact. At least they were still and all accounted for at dinner last night, right? Maybe your friends are still speaking to you. Who knows? It's been 6 months since any of them saw you. I can relate to that, and not even just with the pandemic, but well, and I'm so busy now too, but I remember that I might have told you guys this before. Like, if a friend wanted to get together with me, there was a point, this is maybe like more than a year ago, but that I had something going on almost every night of the week. I had to like schedule sometimes like a month in advance to even get together with a friend for dinner. That's too much. Even though some of those things at night were things that I enjoyed, I just didn't have scheduled in time for being like having those friendships. So luckily my friends are understanding, and a lot of them are also equally busy, and we have been taking advantage of some of the ways that we can connect virtually now, which is really nice. So after saying all those things, she says, today you're a very lucky woman. Don't push it. Yeah, you can get to the point of breakdown, right? Life with you has been as much fun as getting a bikini wax. You were a walk out waiting to happen. Management, the ego, we talked about that, right? Can fend for herself until a new contract is agreed upon. There are labor laws, but none to protect against self-exploitation. The picket line will not be crossed until there are. The picket line will not be crossed until there are. Oh, okay, for there being self-exploitating rules. And we've talked so much about this sort of thing in other entries where we have to give ourselves a break, and we hold ourselves to these incredible standards that are just totally unrealistic. The time has come for you to pay attention, she says. Get a soothing cup of comfort and think about your ideal working day. If you could work in any style or setting, what would it be? We talked about working from home. We had some interesting feedback from that. Some people liked the idea or have been experiencing it. Other people were saying, no, it's not for me. So really maybe contemplate that, what you would like to do. And if you could work in any working hours, what would they be? I have to tell you that I was thinking about that recently. I like 11 to 4. That's when I want to work. I don't want to work any earlier than 11. And I don't even want to work 8 hours for the whole day. What do you see in your working environment? Now compare the idea with the reality. Is there any common ground? Can you introduce one ideal element into your present working environment? So maybe it's something like adding essential oils or a more comfortable chair, or maybe your boss is actually really flexible about your hours, or maybe you can start doing some hours from home, right? If you want to do that. Few women can wave their hands and start an authentic life over from scratch. But all of us can begin working with what we've got, working on our real life circumstances, how we render reality perfected. Perfectionism is unattainable. Perfected is possible, she says. Today begin with a little creative collective bargaining between choice and circumstances. Artists of the everyday excel in elevating the simple to the level of sacred. Use whatever you have on hand, a meal, a conversation, humor, affection, a new filing system, a relatively clean desk to create comfort and content at work. Ask your soul, what is it that would make this encounter with my work more pleasurable? And then do it. You know, she mentioned the clean desk, and that's actually something that I schedule in my planner. Try to do it on Fridays usually, but I like to have things filed. I don't like to have tons of things on the desk. So sometimes you have to make it a task to do that. And then back to the old book, Sarah's original version of Simple Abundance, I found an entry that I thought was a nice tie-in with this burnout and changing the way we're living. And it doesn't appear to be in the new book unless she's moved it way in advance, because I looked throughout most of October and didn't see it in the new book. So it's called Downshifting, Living in Lower Gear. So remember we talked about the great accelerator and I was in my car? So this is kind of another metaphor for downshifting in the car, right? She does a lot of that where we can understand some things better sometimes. So she starts with a quote from Henry David Thoreau, who says, "Things do not change, we change." Henry David Thoreau did not set out to become a patron saint of simplicity. Actually, he sought a job as highway surveyor with the city of Concord, Massachusetts, in order to support his meager earnings as a writer. A century and a half later, Thoreau's experiment, reinterpreted for the 1990s, is called downshifting. So that was something that he started writing about, but it didn't have a coined term until the 1990s. It's a word coined by business writer Amy Salzman. It describes the emergence of a new breed of work pace, trendsetters who are no longer willing to allow their work to ride rough-housed over their lives. Like Thoreau, these career professionals are choosing not to keep pace with their fast-track peers. By setting career limits, they're slowing down in order to devote more time and creative energy to their families, communities, and personal needs. It sounds like, so Amy wrote a book called Downshifting, Reinventing Success at a Slower Track. Yeah, so we talked about success a lot recently. That sounds like it would be more in line with authentic success. And not to say that you couldn't be also successful in a worldly sense, but imagine having more time for your family and the things that you liked. You know, I think they've found this, that workers are more productive when they have shorter work weeks and the company has various things like maybe a gym on site or activities. You know, it's just, it all goes to help the culture of the community, right? So it goes on to talk a lot about Amy's book. So I just want to read something. Like, Amy was talking to somebody and it, you know, her friend was just baffled because she couldn't understand how someone was able to not be particularly busy at work. Oh, the mosquitoes are starting to come out. And still enjoy it. I don't know. Maybe I'm lazy, but I feel like I'm working as hard as I want to work right now. I'm working harder than I want to work. I'd like to work very little. I'd like to have just like residuals come in and not have to work every day of the week or something like that. I don't know. Maybe that's in my future. I'll have to figure that out. But I don't really thrive on stress. I do well, but I have my breaking point, like Sarah was talking to us about. Salzman had made a conscious decision to take life a little slower. In fact, she'd deliberately not gone after a promotion because she knew the job would eat up too many evenings and weekends. Yeah. No matter what life might have looked like to an outsider, the reality of Salzman's decision to take things more slowly was that her life felt fuller, more interesting, and more worthwhile than it could ever be. By slowing down, she discovered that the, quote, fast-track shackles of the set standards and roles that prohibit us from leading truly successful, happy lives, they were not missed, in other words. When we begin to search for our authentic working style, we can make this discovery on our own. Yeah. And that ties in a little bit to something not totally related, but kind of related, that I've been thinking about my own life recently, is that I don't know how to really qualify what I'm doing right now, because I have 3 jobs essentially, and it's weird. Like, most people, I don't know, they just want to know what you do for a living, and you say one thing and then they ask you questions about it or whatever. But like, I was at a doctor's appointment recently, and just making conversation, the doctor said, "What do you do?" And I just was like, "Don't ask." But I can't keep going like that. I need to have a way to say, like, this is what I'm doing. And in some respects, like, I'd like to have a day or 2 off a week right now, but and I'll figure that out. I think I can figure it out at some point, but I'd like to be able to explain and not make it sound weird, and not make it sound like I don't have any ambitions to do anything. I don't know, I have to come up with an elevator speech about maybe like something like Amy Salzman, that author, said, that people thought it was peculiar that she wanted to have more time for her life. So I was thinking that I could say something like, I like every day to be different, and I haven't settled on one thing yet, and I just closed my business essentially, and my life's looking different right now. I don't know. I have to come up with a way to own it so that people don't feel bad for me, or that I don't feel like I'm telling a pity story, or that I'm embarrassed about it. I don't know. So that does sort of tie in with being sort of different, and then somehow being okay with it. Because I don't feel like I would thrive in a climbing the ladder corporately situation. Like, that's totally not me. And even though I'm very busy right now, I am pretty much in charge of my schedule. So I like living like that. I shared that with you guys before. And that's not really the case for everybody out there. Sometimes their lives are very dictated by a certain schedule. So anyway, a little bit more about me. I hope that you have something to say about some of these things. It sounded like the burnout entry really hit home with a lot of you guys. So perhaps you can sit down and think about what your ideal working conditions would be. Like, even if it seems like a dream, even if it's like, I only work twice a week and only for 4 hours or something like that. I mean, really just kind of get together with your thoughts on that. And then also think about how you can incorporate something like, maybe you have the ability to do a shorter work week somehow. Even sometimes, like the state workers in our state, sometimes they have like longer days, but then they only work 4 days, and so it gives them a 3-day weekend. So maybe something like that is available where you work. I don't know, think about it. I hope that you have a nice evening, and please leave me a comment. Love to hear from you guys. I will see you on the next video. I don't know when. I'm doing them when I can. So I'll see you guys probably soon. Okay.